Hello and welcome to Bairnsdale. This is the beginning of the East Gippsland Rail Trail, another one of the big ones, 96 kilometres. Starts a few hundred metres behind me in Howard Park in Bairnsdale, but they're doing some renovation work on it at the moment. They're laying some new concrete, so where those bollards are behind me, that's as far as I can go today. But I'm only missing 200 or 300 metres out of a 96 kilometre trail, so I think that's okay. Starting now, let's go and have a look at it. Well, a little bit further down, about 9 kilometres into the trail, I get to the town of Nicholson. It's only a small little stop on the side there, and we cross this big bridge over the Nicholson River. So far it's all been beautifully paved rail trails, so very fast, easy riding. I think it stays paved a little bit longer and then it turns to gravel. But yeah, so far so good. Let's keep looking further. 3 more kilometres on from Nicholson and we get to the end of the sealed path. This is Stevenson's Road, and from here on all the way to Orbost, the next 85 kilometres is all gravel. Let's go. Well, I'm approaching the town of Bruthen now, just a few more kilometres up the road. Nice little stop for a break. And I just thought I'd stop at this house here. I used to stay here with my family when I was a little kid back in the 80s because we had friends that lived there. And back in those days, this was still a railway line. The trains used to run, there would be freight trains running behind the house as we stayed there. So most of the rail trails that I ride were long closed, like before I was born, but this one I can actually remember trains being on. Bit of a memory there to see this house. So about 38 kilometres into the trail, after Bairnsdale, you get to Bruthen. It's pretty much the only town on the whole rail trail, so it's a good spot to stop, and a lot of great little cafes here, really nice looking little town, so definitely worth a stop on the way through. I'm going to stop here and have something to eat, and then I'm going to keep moving. Next stop after this is Nowa Nowa. That's pretty much just a general store and a petrol station. But yeah, let's have a look. So I'm about 6 kilometres out of Bruthen now. It's been climbing all the way since I left Bruthen. There's about a 10 kilometre climb as you're going out, and then it's a long, probably 20-ish kilometre gradual downhill all the way down to Nowa Nowa. It's not that steep, but it's just very long, and the surface being a little bit loose makes it kind of heavy going. Beautiful bushland that I'm riding through though, and quite shady. It's a warm day, but this part of the track is very well shaded. Enjoying it, it's really nice. So here, about 11 kilometres out from Bruthen, you can go to Lake's Entrance. There's a turn off to the Gippsland Lakes Discovery Trail. Used to be an old timber tramway. I think it's actually a mountain bike trail, so I won't be using it, but it's there if you like to go down to Lake's Entrance. Well, I've continued on a few more kilometres. I'm now about 5 k's out of the town of Nowa Nowa, and I've reached one of the main landmarks of this rail trail. It's the Stony Creek Trestle Bridge, built in 1916, and it worked for about 60 years. It's really quite a spectacular sight. I always like to see the old wooden trestle bridges. They're kind of one of the things that add some railway history to the rail trails. This one looks pretty nice. About 5 more k's now into Nowa Nowa, where I'm going to take a break. It's quite a warm day, so I'm going to rest there for a little while and maybe wait until the weather gets a bit cooler. Let's go to Nowa Nowa. You get this effect on the path where the shadows make it very hard to see obstacles. They're all sort of patchy with the light. I got very close to a big snake just before. I couldn't see it amongst all these shadows, and I only spotted it just in time to slam on the brakes and not run over it. So after 27 more kilometres after Bruthen, I've arrived at the next town, which is Nowa Nowa. The general store and petrol station behind me is most of the town. There's also a couple of caravan parks and, you know, not a lot else, I think. There's a water refill station and a bike service station, so that's nice to have. I'm going to stop and rest for a while now. I'm not going to achieve all that I'd hoped for today. The weather forecast was for high 20s and partly cloudy, but what I've got is mid 30s and not a cloud in the sky, so I'm going to give up for a while because it's getting a bit hard to ride. This is a good spot to stop though. The caravan park owner assures me that this general store serves the best coffee, so it would be rude not to try it. Maybe not right now, but in the morning when I'm on the way home. So the ride here from Bruthen was quite slow. It's very hilly and the gravel is quite loose, so even on the downhill sections you don't really pick up a lot of speed. So it took quite a while to get here. I think my average speed was quite low, but the scenery was probably the best part of the trail, I think. It was really nice, I enjoyed that. Yeah, I'm going to stop now and take a break. Alright, we have to skip ahead a little bit. Yesterday afternoon the weather was too hot and not suitable for riding, so I couldn't do a fairly big section of the trail that I was hoping to do yesterday. And today there just isn't time, so I've had to fast forward ahead here now to the entranceway to the Snowy River floodplains. This is the last bit on the entrance to Orbost, and it follows along the old trestle bridge that used to cross the floodplains. I have ridden this section in the past. It's kind of similar to the section before Nowa Nowa. There's more trestle bridges and more bush, although the road is a little bit rockier and not quite as smooth for this portion from Nowa Nowa through to Orbost. Not really many towns or anything for supplies either, so you have to make sure that when you leave Nowa Nowa you've got everything you need to make it the next 38 kilometres to Orbost. Well, this is the end of the trail now, so let's see where it takes us. There's the old trestle bridge that used to cross the floodplains with the trains. Looks like they're doing some restoration works on it at the moment. They're adding some handrails and fixing the surface, so it looks like it might be open soon for pedestrians and cyclists to actually use it. It's very long, runs all the way to nearly to Orbost station, which is just this side of the Snowy River. At the moment, the trail doesn't follow the old trestle bridge, it follows the road. It's just kind of a gravel track that runs along the side of the road. A bit rocky and rough. Probably easier to actually use the road at this point. Just a little bit further now. Here's where the trail does get up close to the bridge. 903 metres long. It's the longest wooden railway bridge in Victoria, and it is being restored for pedestrian and cyclist use. There's a sign there. So maybe not too long in the future when you come this way, this is how you're going to ride on the rail trail. Well, behind me in the paddock there is a crumbling old remains of the Orbost train station. At the moment it's just an old platform that's sort of falling apart in the middle of a paddock, but at one point it was a really busy freight terminal. The last passenger services finished in 1935, but it kept running for freight until 1987, so it's one of the few rail trails that I've ridden that I actually remember seeing trains running on while it was still a train line. This is the end of the East Gippsland rail trail, so almost 100 kilometres from Bairnsdale. Very big ride, and there's not really much transport in the other direction, so if you ride one way you're going to have to factor in that you're going to have to ride the other way to get back, so just keep that in mind. We're just on the other side of the Snowy River from Orbost town. There's a bridge right ahead that goes over. The railway line never crossed the river, even though there was an original plan to extend it all the way up into New South Wales. This is where it stops though, so from here you can cross the river, go into Orbost town. So that's it, that's the end of the trail. Nearly 100 kilometres, very beautiful bushland to ride through, very beautiful scenery. Nice old trestle bridges and rail history, which is all nice as well. I always enjoy that. It's one of the nice rail trails I think in Victoria, and it's worth a look if you can come all the way out this way.